Hello again. This is a recording I made earlier today with Sandra Gray, who is over in Uganda. And I met Sandra a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, 4 weeks. Time goes by very quickly, when I was in Uganda. And she has led research on golden monkeys for several years now. And she's had to jump through a lot of hoops to keep things going. She isn't regularly funded. And she's actually quite an amazing person and very, very dedicated to what she does. So I thought it would be good to have a chat with her about the work she's doing with the golden monkeys, how that research is relevant to conservation and also getting money into local communities and providing an incentive for local government to invest as well, which is a big issue in some countries where there's a lot of corruption often and money doesn't reach the people it should reach. And if you listen to my podcast about poaching, you'll understand that this is a very important part of the puzzle and a very important part of the solution to stopping poaching and helping conservation. And we also have a chat about Dian Fossey, because this area is where Dian Fossey was active. And if you've watched Gorillas in the Mist, you'll know something of the story. So we do talk about Dian Fossey. I won't say anything else about it now. I'll just go straight on to the recording of our conversation, and then I'll add a little bit of an outro at the end. So this is the conversation. All right, so I'm here with Sandra Gray. So Sandra is based in Uganda, in a place called Kasoro at the moment, which we met a few weeks ago. And Sandra's been running research on golden monkeys for a few years now. And we thought it would make a good podcast because this works very well as a template for how conservation works. And Sandra will talk more about how it's not just about the research, but how the research leads on to other things that can resolve some of the issues that conservation has, which is things like poaching and that kind of thing. And also how it's not just about the research, how research is important because it leads to other things. So as I was saying, Sandra, I did a bit of research, so you can tell me if this is all wrong. So Sandra was a nurse in England originally, and then you decided once you'd raised family to study zoology and become a primatologist. I think that's all correct.
That's right.
And you actually went to Cameroon and you were there for 7 years, I believe. And that field work involved rescuing chimpanzees and gorillas and other small primates. And that, as I understand it, got you interested in that. And then you had the opportunity to move to Uganda. And where we're talking about in Uganda is down in the southwest corner. So you've got Rwanda to the south, the Democratic Republic of Congo to the west. And that corner is where you find the mountain gorillas. That's primarily where they live. But you arrived in 2004 to see the gorillas, but then you fell in love with the golden monkeys. And the interesting thing about the golden monkeys is that this is the only place in the world where they live. So this is really important work that you're doing. And one of the issues, and I'll obviously let you expand on this, is that because golden monkeys aren't really well known, it's very hard to get funding. So Sandra hasn't been funded permanently, and that's been one of the many things that you've had to deal with to continue your research. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to you and let you talk about what you're doing and how it give people an insight into how conservation works and how research is such a cornerstone for all of the other things that can come out of it. So I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Graham, for that introduction. Yes, research is really the beginning of it all, whether it be conservation, whether it be tourism, or dealing with the problems that we encounter, such as poaching. So research is necessary, because without research, you really don't know what you are dealing with. And it's only through the research that you can monitor and see changes and patterns occurring. So the research needs to be carried out absolutely every single day, so that the data you collect will give you an indication of what is okay or what is not okay. And if any changes are occurring, then you need to understand why those changes are occurring. Is it for good reasons or is it for bad reasons? So research opens up many different questions. The more you research, the more you understand about the whole ecosystem. So it's not just about the monkeys. It's also about the buffalo, the elephant, the plants, the insects. Everything plays a part within that ecosystem. And if one part is lost for whatever reason, then it's going to have an impact on everything else that is there. So it's only through research and being in the forest every single day that you are able to see and understand what is happening. Research, it's like a book. Every page you turn in a book, you're learning more, you're understanding more. Research is the same. Every single day is like turning a different page in that book. And from that research, you begin to understand the importance of how everything is connected. Of course, I'm interested in the golden monkeys, but it's everything else around them that matters to them and matters to every other species within that ecosystem. So, of course, the gorillas are a keystone species, but you can also say that the buffalo are a keystone species, the elephant are a keystone species, also the golden monkeys.
Sandra, just to interrupt there, perhaps you could just let people know what a keystone species is for those who don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the keystone species, they are important because that is what everything really is focused on in that forest. The keystone species, they're important because they are the main tourist product, if you, for a better word. So everything is really focused on those. But through the research, I've learned that it's not just the keystone species, such as gorillas. Everything is really a keystone species because it all plays an important and vital role within that ecosystem. So for me, they are all as important as each other. It's just that some seem to be of more importance, really, because of the big dollars they bring in for tourism, should I say.
Yeah.
Everything has an importance. It's not just about the financial side of conservation. I mean, research is the only way that you can conserve an environment through your understanding of everything. If you don't research, you can't conserve. And if you don't conserve, then you won't have tourism because there'll be nothing for people to come and see and enjoy and research also can be a valuable educational tool. The rangers with Ugandan Wildlife Authority, they are there to take the tourists to the gorillas, the golden monkeys, nature walks, hiking. But as far as research is concerned, they don't become involved in research in a very big way. But through my research program, they've learnt a lot about research and about the golden monkeys. And I even extended it to doing workshops for the rangers in Mgahinga National Park. And even students from Carey University and students within Ugandan Wildlife Authority have also joined me within the park to understand why research is an important educational tool. And also through research, when you're in the forest every single day, that is how you learn about the problems within the forest.
Right.
If you're not there every day, you cannot monitor and see patterns occurring over time or things that are not okay, for example, like poaching. And it's only through being there every day that you realize where these poaching sites are in the forest. because they don't just randomly put down wire snares anywhere. They put them in certain places, the same as the illegal taking of bamboo. It's only in certain places. So it's only by going into that forest every day that you can really see where these problems are, and that you know where to put anti-poaching rangers in to solve these problems as such. And so through the research, you get the conservation, you see the problems of the poachers, but also you see in other places also, for example, we have in one place some bamboo that is dying. In other places it's growing extremely well. And we didn't really know until we looked further into depth and talked with other people in other countries like Rwanda, where they're doing the same kind of research, that we came to the conclusion that if the elephants were not there, then the bamboo would not be in good quality where we find it. And the areas where bamboo is dying, that is where elephants are not going. So there must be some connection, but we've yet to look into that further. So as I said in the beginning, the more you research, the more questions come to mind. And so it just continues. It never stops, because you're never going to learn everything. And so another important thing also is the importance of the fungi that's in that forest, because people don't take much notice of the importance of things like that. So even that is another area that we need to understand better. Yes, and as we're going through the forest, the way we track the golden monkeys, that tells us a lot about the golden monkeys' behavior, their feeding patterns, their movement patterns, their sleeping sites. They don't just feed anywhere, they don't just sleep anywhere. So it's only by tracking them on a daily basis that you can really understand where they're sleeping, where they're going to move to, their movement patterns, their feeding habits, and how everything else is connected to their home range, and how big their home range is. So everything it brings up questions of why is this happening? When is this happening? Because things change with the seasons also, whether it's the dry season, the rainy season, even from a point of view of the rainfall. It all has an impact to that ecosystem. So everything needs to be monitored every single day and documented. And then, of course, if you can conserve all of that and solve these problems, then of course tourism benefits, and through the tourism they gain the finances that they need to conserve that forest area, and through the tourism indirectly taxi drivers, they benefit, border benefit, the hoteliers, the waitresses, the shops, the local community in general, they all benefit. I've taken people from the local community. They're now, one is now a ranger. He's been a ranger for 10 years with Uganda and Wildlife Authority. Another one, he was a porter in the forest. He's now a tour guide with a big tour company. So people do benefit indirectly, but it all starts with research. And the importance of research.
Yeah, because one of the problems that we spoke about when we spoke before is that a lot of people are forced to poach because they don't have the money to buy food. They either poach for food or they poach to sell the meat to buy food to survive. So by supporting the local economy, that takes away the need for poaching. And this is where people in local government, and certainly not just in Uganda for sure, but in lots of countries, there's a lot of corruption. So people in positions of power, particularly locally, need to have an incentive to support research and tourism if they can see that by looking at what you're doing and the understanding you're getting, they can produce these products, these tourist products that brings money into the area. And so it does support local communities, and that's the key thing to why tourism is so important.
Yes, because usually the focus is always on like the mountain gorilla or the chimpanzee that bring in the big dollars for tourism. Research is never seen as an importance because it doesn't bring in the finances. And
Yeah.
so for money to do research, it's never there. It's so difficult to get. And everybody with funding, they always want to fund the bigger primates, the
Yeah.
charismatic animals. These smaller animals, they get forgotten about along the way, yet they are just as important. And now the tourists, when they understand how it all began with the golden monkeys and the work that we do, they're becoming more interested in the golden monkeys. And some tourists have actually said that their best experience in Uganda was tracking the golden monkeys
No.
with me, never mind the gorillas. So,
Yeah.
it does have an importance and a value and an interest to the
Yeah.
wider world. But I think if people can understand that these smaller species are just as important,
Yeah.
because if they don't understand them, they're not going to understand anything else.
Yeah.
So it's all like a jigsaw. The whole ecosystem fits together like a jigsaw. If one part is missing, then the whole system will fall apart eventually.
Yeah.
But it's getting the local communities also to understand the importance of the research.
Yeah.
Because if they don't see the dollars, then they don't realize that from an educational point of view, it's important.
Yeah.
They're just more focused on the finances that are coming in,
Yeah.
which it's difficult to find the energy to carry on every day when
Yeah. Yeah, well, you
when
spoke
you
a little bit about the difficulties you've had, which and you've been there a long time, and you've when
yes
we spoke last time, you said there have definitely been points where you perhaps doubted or maybe doubted you had the will to carry on with it.
yes
Yeah,
yes
so that's
But I think we have turned a corner now because meeting the people in Rwanda through the transboundary collaboration has really shown the people on the Rwandan side and the people on the Ugandan side that we can make a difference, and it is working and things are happening and we are doing the right thing at the end of the day. So that does give you the hope to carry on, and eventually people will see the benefit. But because we're doing the research, it has also had a positive indirect impact in that part of the forest, because since we started, the poaching on that side has dramatically fallen because we are there every day. They know we are there every day.
right.
So it hasn't had an impact that way, which is good.
Yeah.
So indirectly, it's working for that reason. And also because it is now a tourist product as well, that group of golden monkeys, they're also getting the protection the same as the mountain gorillas, because
Right.
it's now a
Yeah.
tourist product.
Yeah, they have a value. Do you want to say
They've
something?
got a value now.
Yeah, do you want to say something about how that product came about, the golden monkey as a product, the tourist destination almost?
Yeah, it was just I was talking with a ranger one day, and I don't know how the idea came into our heads, but we both came to the kind of agreement that, yeah, why don't we let the tourists come and join us in the research and let them enjoy the forest and see how we do the research and why we do it and the importance of it, and learn also not only about the golden monkeys, but also the whole ecosystem. So as they're moving through the forest with us, they learn about the buffaloes, the elephants, the plants, the bush buck, and they get photos also of these other animals as well that we meet along the way, if it's possible. And they get to understand about the food that the golden monkeys eat, their sleeping sites, their movement patterns, their crossing points within the forest where they use the same branch to move through a tree. So the tourists, it's not just about getting that photo of the golden monkeys. They get the whole forest experience. And I think this is what they're really enjoying, the chance that they can track through the forest and they can track the golden monkeys the same as we do. We show them what we're looking for on the ground. So it's the whole package really with the golden monkeys and the research group. It's not just about, oh, we sit with the gorillas for 1 hour and that is it. They have the whole day in the forest if they want the whole day in the forest. So yes, it's just a different product altogether, but it's working really well.
It's very
and
different.
Tourism has to be diverse.
Yeah, because I was thinking you can go to, I've been to Kenya years ago and did the safari thing. So you're kind of ticking off animals and then off you go to the next one. Whereas doing what you're doing is far more in depth, because when you're tracking animals, you begin to get an insight into the language of the forest, what it looks like, what to look for to know that a particular animal has gone through. And I'm always blown away by trackers who can just look around. They can see the whole story of what's been through that particular area when they went through all of this stuff. It is a language, like you're saying. It's been able to read the page of that particular page of that part of the forest, and that gives a much deeper insight, I think, for people who go on those kind of trips.
Totally. And also they learn also more about the work of the rangers as well with Ugandan Wildlife Authority, which for me, I've always said is so important that people understand the work of the Ugandan Wildlife Authority, that it's not just about taking the tourists to the gorillas to get the photo and then they come back, the work is finished. I want them to understand that they monitor the forest 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The borders are controlled, are protected 24 hours, 7 days a week, I just want them to get a better insight into that work, because then they'll understand why they have to pay such high price to go into the national park, because some people question that. So if they can understand all the finances that are involved in conservation of a wildlife area so that tourism can be a product, that is extremely important as well. But also understand the importance of the community around the national park as well. The role that they can play within conservation. I've worked with an ex-poacher who joined my research team, and he was one of the best I've ever worked with. He was absolutely the best. If I could have that person permanently, I would do. Because he's just the best at what he does. He has the knowledge of the forest, and also he's learning why we should research, why we should conserve, and he can see the benefit of it as well. And then he can pass it on to the community, he can pass it on to his children, and so everybody wins at the end of the day if they understand. That's the key thing, I think, is making people be aware and understand why this is so important. And it's not just about me going every day, walking through the forest and seeing a nice monkey and sitting there and enjoying. It's far more in depth and more. It's tough work, hard work, because even if it's raining, we are still there with the monkeys. The work still goes on. And I've even camped in the forest twice as well with the rangers. So that was a real treat as well, because if you have to understand the whole thing 24 hours a day, not just for so many hours a day. It's round the clock. So it takes a lot of manpower to do such things as well.
I can vouch for it being a tough environment, having only been in it a couple of times in that area. But it's pretty tough walking, and they do underplay it a little bit when they're selling it to people who are going to go on the walks. My recommendations are try and get a little bit fit and also hire a porter, because those guys are brilliant. Because it's very slippery. We're in rainy season. I gather that's best because monkeys, gorillas come down from the trees more, so you've got a better chance of seeing them. But for
the bamboo shoots, And I must say, when I go to the forest, I've always had a porter with me because I'm also giving him an income for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I always have a porter
Yeah.
because they're worth their weight in gold, and also it is giving them a little bit of something every day. It's an income, and it gives them that hope as well, you know, that they are helping, they're doing something worthwhile, and they're learning at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Which is great, and it's a good positive thing for the community to be involved as much as possible.
Yeah.
So really, you keep everybody on your side as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not very much. I mean, we were paying $20 for a porter for the day.
Yes.
And I think to put it in perspective,
yes.
I don't know what people, I don't even know what the average earnings is in the area in terms of US dollars, but it's not very much. It might be,
No.
I think someone was telling us $100 and something for a month. One of the guys we were talking to, but it's $20 is a lot of money for people in the area. And so again, coming from outside as a tourist,
yes.
it's even, as you say, you know, hiring those people on the as you go on these trips is also a very important contribution to the local community there. And it again all comes together to protect the animals, protect the environment, and allow research to continue, because with things like the fungus, who knows what those things can contribute. But we're still learning, you know, there's so much we don't know
yes.
about the forest. And I think again people don't understand that. They kind of assume we know all there is to know. There really isn't. We're constantly learning.
Yes. And I think this forest is particularly important as well from a research point of view and conservation point of view, because strategically, you know, the position of Mgahinga National Park, how it stretches across the three countries of Rwanda, Uganda and Congo. Yeah. I think it's particularly important that we conserve this area, not just for its natural beauty and the wildlife, but because it's such an iconic place in the world.
Yeah.
And how it stretches across these three countries, which have in many, well, in the past and in the future, I suppose, and in present day, you know, there's a lot of problems in this area.
Yeah.
So if research can play a part in encouraging the local people to conserve in all three countries, then maybe stability may be a bit easier across the Virungas in the future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my biggest impressions with Uganda, and I've been to Africa a few times, is just how friendly and helpful people are and how smart people are. So it's, you know, in many ways, it's such a shame that there's been so much political uncertainty, and you know, hopefully that situation will stabilize as time goes on, and maybe, you know, people are more educated. If they are getting income from the local community, hopefully that will sort of change the way the politics go as well, so that they become more stable and people can have a good life, which is, I think, all most of us really want in the end.
That's right. Yes. And of course, the research group is very, very close to the Congo border.
Yeah.
So it's always been a difficult place to work in.
Yeah.
As far as the research that we do, and from a security point of view as well. You know, the manpower that we need at that side to be able to continue with the research and the conservation and the tourism. It needs to be really protected well, which has always been the case. Uganda and Wildlife Authority and the UPDF, they work extremely hard to keep these borders as secure as possible for everybody. So and the struggle also with research is always the lack of resources as well. Because it's like always, you know, that radios are always needed, GPS monitoring is always needed, data sheets, all of this kind of thing. And like when it's high season and there's many tourists on the ground and in the national park, all these kind of resources go to where the tourists are going. So we can be left in the forest with no no radio,
Yeah.
no GPS, with absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
to help us. But still, we're getting the right results at the end of the day, which is, I just think it just shows how good we are at understanding what we're seeing
Absolutely.
about that forest after so long.
And I think as well, just going back to what's going on with the three countries, it's worth mentioning that this is where Dian Fossey was, because she started in the Congo. So anyone who's watched Gorillas in the Mist, this is the part of the world where she was. And you spoke before, you met somebody who helped her get out of.
Yes, that's right.
Congo.
Yes.
So yeah, this is. So anyone listening who is a fan of Dian Fossey or Gorillas in the Mist will want to see, this is the place to be, to actually see those gorillas, and because they move between the countries, so they don't recognize the borders. So you might get unlucky and find they're in the wrong country, but hopefully not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course here in Kasoro we have the hotel, the Traveller's Rest, which was a place where Dian Fossey used to like to go and drink.
Okay.
Yes, she frequented there often after Digit's death.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, Dian Fossey is all around this area, and particularly the older generation. They really knew about Dian Fossey, and they can tell you great stories about her. And they absolutely adored her as well. Sometimes she's portrayed as a very hard, not caring lady.
Yeah.
But the locals absolutely adored her. And I think if she wasn't that tough, nothing would have been like it was. So she was the start of everything, because she was the start of how the Rangers came into place. If it wasn't for her, there would be no gorillas in these forests, that's for sure.
Wow.
I think everything would have disappeared by now. But yes, she certainly brought it all to the fore. And I think if it wasn't for her being in the forest, nobody would have been interested, because I think they're just fascinated by a woman living up in the mountains. How do you manage? I mean, a lot of the tourists I meet, those are the questions they ask me. How do you manage in such a place? How do you live up there when it's so cold and there's nothing there? And they find that fascinating in itself.
Well, particularly back then when she started, because it was even more unusual at that time for a woman to really be involved in that work at all. So she's definitely a real pioneer, and deserves a lot of credit and thanks for making that stand and doing the work she did and starting the ball rolling.
Oh, definitely. And I think more should be remembered in Uganda about Dian Fossey. On the Rwandan side, they do pay a high tribute to Dian Fossey. They've got like the museum and all of this kind of thing. But I think in Uganda, her name is nowhere to be seen, really.
Really?
Nobody speaks about her. But I think that should also be another focus, and it could be another attraction for the tourists.
Well, I think, absolutely, because she is known outside and in the West where the money is, so it would make sense to use her name, and I'm sure she would be quite happy for a name to be used if the money is going to support the research and gorillas and the other animals that make up the ecosystem and support the local communities.
Yes, because even in a local school, I took the film Gorillas in the Mist, so that the children could actually watch it and see what it was all about, and the Virungas and everything. And I think they got the message. I know some didn't quite get the message, that they just thought it was a nice film to watch, and they didn't quite understand the importance of it. But I think that also should be worked on a lot more on the Ugandan side, about how it really all started in the Virungas with Dian Fossey.
I did get to visit one of the schools where they set that up, so we watched some of the film with the kids, and I have to say as well that the questions they were asking, both about the film and actually about us as visitors, because there were 6 of us there, were very insightful and very intelligent questions. So that was nice to have that experience with them.
Yes.
And this is why I think, looking to the future with education, there are a lot of very smart people in Uganda, and
there is.
Great to see how things go on.
And I was surprised at how many rangers I've worked with don't even know the name Dian Fossey.
Really? Wow.
And I'm just shocked by it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of work to be done on that front. I think they should understand how it all started and appreciate. Because if it wasn't for her, they wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be employed as rangers. There'd be no Ugandan Wildlife Authority. There'd be nothing within this area, I don't think. So they do owe a great debt, and they should know about her.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like that area, as we were saying before, they're obviously redeveloping that area around there to support hopefully an increase in tourism and people wanting to see the gorillas. And it'd be good for people to acknowledge where this all began.
Absolutely, yes. And I really do think that is important. And I think if they understand that, then they might understand better what I do and why I'm here.
The new Dian Fossey, the latest.
Not many tourists call me that, and I say no, leave that one alone.
All right. Well, Sandra, I'll probably wind it up there, but thank you so much for just sharing what you do and some of the stories and why what you do is important. And hopefully it's given people who are listening some insights into the importance of it, and hopefully inspire them to get involved in one way or another. And I'll put a link in the website to get in touch and all of that. So
yes,
that's great. But thank you so much.
Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I hope you found that interesting. And if you would like to learn more about what Sandra is doing, or would like to find out how to contribute or take part, drop me an email is probably the safest thing right now at Graham, Graham, @ge.photography. And you can put Sandra Gray as the title, and I can let you have any information you would like to have. So that's pretty much it for this podcast. I hope you've, as I say, found it useful. And, excuse me, I'll talk to you again on the next podcast. Bye for now. Oh, and one thing just before you go, please take a look at the 2026 wildlife calendar. That's available now. It's on the website. There's a link below the description of this podcast episode. So please take a look, and I'll speak to you next time. Bye now.